Welcome back, folks. It's another episode of It's About Payroll. Man, what is going on, Walt?
I'm good, man. But nah, just taking it day by day, man. This year is flying by. I know I
Word.
always say that, but man, we're
No,
already
still true.
towards the middle of the year.
Pretty
already.
much. Yeah.
Man. Time waits for no one, man. How are you?
No, I'm doing amazing, man. Let's get right in, bro. You got any pay news for us? Payroll news update? Don't want to take
Yeah, I
anybody's.
just want to talk about
pay-
all the all the layoffs that are going on
Go for
so
it.
far in 2026. So far, as of late April 2026, over 100,000 tech jobs or tech employees have been laid off across 150 employees, which major cuts at Oracle, Amazon, and Meta, which is largely driven by AI adoption and restructuring. So, and one of those things, I think you just mentioned this to me this morning, was UKG, right?
Yep.
They just had some layoffs the other day, and it was 950 people from their global sector. And so that cut of that 950 employees represented about 14% of their global footprint. So
Wow.
as they restructure and everything. So I think that we're seeing that, and as I did research, they said it was a restructuring with the plan to shift toward AI focused operations.
Mhm.
So AI we're starting to see it. Like, we're in the middle of that. We started seeing it a little bit, last year, but full force, we're seeing AI coming in and impacting companies and employees. And it's just, it's the time is now. Yeah.
I think that the UKG, they could say it's AI, but I also think that is an impact or result of the merger. Two global or big companies merged to make UKG, and it was going to take some time to find that redundancy. We all expected big layoffs in the beginning, and we might have gotten some, but it was inevitable to continue to happen as they successfully merged their companies. I think we've only been a few years. I guess it's a good amount of time in on the merger. So yeah, it's a good impact on AI as well. So yeah, no, look, interesting stuff. More of a reason to look out for the new CPT course that we got going on. Learn how to do payroll inside of payroll. Learn on a payroll system. Really excited about that course. And as folks are looking for new careers or new grads are looking for something, they can check it out. But yeah. Yes, sir. So yeah. Oh, I had something. Let's see. So it's an article published on Global Newswire. Loyal but looking. Today's workforce is keeping its options open. And this was a survey done by iSolved. And the key takeaways are that happy employees are still ready to leave. So the study says 90% of employees are happy in their roles, yet 58% plan to apply for a new job within the next year. The big takeaway, job satisfaction does not automatically mean retention. Another next point is employees feel stuck even when they are not unhappy. The article points to stagnation fatigue. Employees want better pay, career growth, advancement, and clearer paths forward. Employers need to focus on development, mobility, and future opportunity, not just whether employees seem satisfied today. You can think about. And last one, as it impacts payroll specifically, yes, payroll matters. Payroll was one of the clearest warnings in the article, as we say a lot on this show. 63% of employees have experienced payroll or pay issues. 53% said a payroll mistake would make them look for a new job. Just one, right? This is the strongest payroll takeaway. Payroll accuracy is directly tied to employee trust and retention. We've said it many times. A payroll mistake is not just an operational issue. It can become a turnover trigger. So yeah, payroll is not just back office function. According to iSolve, more than half of employees say that a payroll mistake would make them consider looking for another job. So think about that, payrollers. And I mean, not that if you're good, if you've been doing it any amount of time, you're good at it, you know that very clearly. But just to reiterate, and that study was just done. So this is fresh info. So I'm going to talk today about the journey of the payroll person, right? Payroll is one of the most important jobs, perfect segue. And the journey of the payroll professional is rarely talked about in stages outside of the show, anyway, because we talk about it all the time. Today, we're talking about the real payroll career arc, the entry, the middle, the waiting period, and then the next level. So, Walt, you want to get started on like the entry level of this, and we could go back
Yeah.
and forth on these stages.
So what is that stage really? The entry level, right? This is where most of us got our start, where we learned the basics, while also realizing that payroll is much bigger than just pressing a button. We entered the stage. I think a lot of us have said, we asked the question, what's your payroll origin story? This is how it started, right? This is how you got into payroll. And so whether that's through admin, by chance, or whether you're a rare breed and you actually chose it,
Right.
you get into it, and early in your payroll journey, you might see it as more often task heavy or deadline driven. You see a lot of the new payroll professionals are mostly focused on accuracy, repetition, terminology, and process. And I think you don't appreciate, or you may underestimate how much compliance risk sits inside those seemingly small tasks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and your confidence as a payroll pro may not be as high, because usually, one mistake can have real impact or affect real people and their pay, right?
Right.
So this is where you learn, about payroll calendars, cutoff times. You start to understand deductions, taxes, garnishments, time cards, pay statements. You handle corrections and off cycles, and you're figuring out the difference between what seems fair versus what is actually compliant, realizing that payroll is very detailed work, especially under pressure. And before I pass it on to you, or if you have anything to add, I think a lot of people, what they may get wrong here is that thinking that the faster you are, that overrides the accuracy of it, right? So, 'cause sometimes I remember for myself, we had a bunch of payrolls to process. We had the deadline to meet, and we had to get it done as quickly as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I developed, I would say it was a bad habit. I thought it was a skill at first that I would be able to be done. And I had to learn to kind of like balance myself out. And it still happens to me a little bit now, where I'm just working so fast to get something done that, I had to double check myself and make sure that everything is accurate. Earlier in my career, I just wanted to make sure everything was done to push it out the door, because I had 100 more payrolls to process. I had 115 clients, 1,500 employees. Yeah, there were small entities and stuff like that, but there were so many of them that you had to get all of them done by what Tuesday or Wednesday of the week, right?
Life is too short not to work on solving cool problems with interesting people, and recruiting allows us to do both. I'm Brando, host of the Rebel TA podcast, a show where we share stories with people and talent leaders who are on a mission to empower the candidate-employer relationship in the future of work.
And another thing that you can go wrong in this area is assuming that the system is always right? I think a lot of times when you're in the entry level, you just think that, the manager's handling that, I don't have to check that, and the system's going to calculate everything correctly. That's not always the case. And believing that payroll is just admin work, And another, I think the biggest piece to take away from this is not asking questions. You don't ask enough questions because you don't want to look inexperienced, right? So ask away, because this is the best time to do it.
Absolutely.
So what about you, man? You want to get on the middle part of it? Or you have anything to add to that entry level?
No, you covered it well. Yeah. So of course, the middle part of it. So what stage is this really? This is where payroll pros become reliable, experienced, and increasingly valuable. They know enough to carry real responsibility, but they may not be operating strategically yet. And it's interesting because we spoke about that with John and Tammy, the authors of an upcoming book called Payroll Like a Boss. And it's basically a guide to strategic payroll, right? How to be strategic. And I think Bart Vanderstorm also covers a bit of that in his book as well, Payroll Minds. And it's just getting folks to think outside of just the operational of it. And I need to get gross to net properly, or, it's beyond accuracy, right? It's beyond being quick. Is just what now? You have to be more strategic, right? You have to get your business acumen, I say a fancy word, learn about the business you're in. What does the company do? How does that, are there any operational things that can impact how the payroll processes, and try to understand what those impacts might be? I'll give you a good example. In retail, it's heavy punching in and out. In retail, it's heavy part-time, right? Whereas in education, it could be heavy full-time, not as many part-time, depending on where in education, because you could, in the college level, it could be a lot of, what do they call it? Ad hoc professors, and those are kind of like a lot of part-timers. Point is, you need to learn all those nuances. In a factory, you got to punch into that system, and oh gosh, if you get paid by piece and you're hourly, like that is a whole nother calculus, right? You have to understand that business impact. So, some of the truths of this stage is that, you often become the payroll person now that everybody's relying on. There is not just doing paperwork and payroll, it's troubleshooting. It's explaining and communicating. I love the statement that I learned recently. It was like, communication is compliance. And that for payroll is absolutely true. So you kind of learn what that means. You learn how to fix things, and better, you learn how to protect and avoid the errors from continuing to happen. Right. So another thing is learning how to be cross-functional. How do you, something that Trista said, all roads lead to payroll. And it's absolutely true. So how do you work with all those roads? It's operations, it's accounting, it's HR, it's all the things. How do you work with these different departments to make sure everything is flowing? Understand how payroll's impacting them. If you have an opportunity at this level to go and go to your, kind of see how your employees are working in their job. An easy example is, if you're in education, can you spend a day at a school and just walk around with someone, of course, properly, vetted for security, right? If you're around kids, you need to get the proper verifications and things like that. But, walk around with a principal all day or a vice principal all day, and just to kind of see how things are moving. What are these teachers' challenges, and what are the different employee challenges? Retail location. Can you be at the location for a day? Can you spend time at the factory one day? It will give you a different insight as to how your job is impacting them and why they have some of the complaints they may have and some of the challenges they may have. You might be like, why didn't the person do his time guard? But if you spend time on location, you kind of see, oh, wow, this is why, So, this is where also system knowledge gets increased. You start learning the system better. You either become that, are you going to be more compliance guru? Or are you going to be more tech guru? Are you going to be more manager people guru? But, you kind of start seeing where your skill set is really excelling, and you can figure out how you want to develop. What else? You can train. That's another one. I love training, and really I've always wanted to teach since very young, and, getting my train on and is something that I really enjoy. So, do you want to train? Or here's another one. Are you really good with the data and audits and reconciliations and the year-end process and validations and all that good stuff? Because that's a whole nother skill set. Ideally you become the official subject matter of this information. But sometimes it's unofficial as well. It really depends on, to have a conversation with a new salesperson that we brought on. And, he was saying, we were talking about whether the company considers payroll a center of excellence or a back office process. And that's very different. It's really key to understand that from a payroll person, being in that, does your company consider your function a center of excellence or just just a back office process? Because it's going to determine how they treat you. And that's
Yep.
important to know, right? And it's a good time to figure that out at this stage. What a lot of people get wrong is, they stay in that firefighter mode too long. They stay in the weeds and, they think that hard work is the only way. It's time to be strategic at this level. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it, man. That's what I think.
So I think one thing that you mentioned here that I would like to just say, like,
Of course.
it's where you become a stronger payroll pro. You know what I'm saying? You start proving yourself. You are really honing in on those habits, good or bad, right? You either I just start to prepare yourself for. I heard background. I don't know. Or you start to prepare yourself for leadership, or if you're developing bad habits, you might find yourself getting burned out by them. So, so I'm gonna look at the next level. I'm really excited about this next level, or I'm really excited to talk about it, right? Because I've experienced this in my own career when, trying to grow and trying to get to the next stage, right? So it's the waiting period. And this is kind of where you may feel stagnated, or you might feel, frustrated, or you would feel like your career might be stalling a little bit. I know there's been other people in this field that they kind of just shot up the ranks quickly. And then after they made it up quickly, it's just, okay, what's next? Or you've been in that payroll support role the majority of your career, and you're like, okay, I want to get into leadership or management. I've experienced that myself, right? Where, I imposter syndrome set in because I wanted to advance myself and, see myself get into management, but I always had those roadblocks, I don't want to get too deep into that because, there were other reasons for that, why that occurred, right? And it was just people, poor leadership, or whatever, or small team structure. Sometimes having a small team, there might not be a clear path for you to get into management, especially if there's only 3 of you at your company and you already have a payroll manager, and you're already a payroll admin or payroll administrator or senior payroll administrator. You might, find yourself getting frustrated by that, right? You might get frustrated by the lack of mentorship. We've talked to other people who said they've had terrible managers in place that didn't want to teach them anything, that would kind of just try to protect their job. And so, no, this is me. I'm not going to show you anything because, it's job security for me.
What happens when employees behave badly? Boy, we could do an entire TV show, maybe a Netflix special on that. Well, Ryan and I sat down and recorded episodes for FAMA, and we asked practitioners, give us your most outrageous story. The sales leader that brings cocaine to work, whatever. Just bring us the outrageous, and it is funny. So if you need a laugh, which we all do from time to time, search for Workplace Misconduct wherever you get your podcasts, and you'll find it. And trust me, you will laugh and cry, but you'll definitely laugh. All right. Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, there are times where you are ready for more. You have the broader skill set to move, and it might just be you're in the wrong environment, right? And no matter how patient you are, that will never fix that as long as the wrong leadership hierarchy is in place, right? So what may happen at this stage of stagnation or frustration, you may go from feeling like the go-to person, or you might start feeling like the go-to person, but not the promoted person. You may start feeling like you're trusted with the problems and fixing them, but not included in the strategy, right? You may go from seeing less experienced people advance because they communicate their value better. So there might be somebody who knows how to negotiate, better than you do. And you see them get advanced or you see them get the salary that they want, right? And you're feeling frustrated. And so that's another opportunity for you to up your skills, up your level up a little bit, right? And so you can find yourself also maybe potentially getting burnt out from having all that high responsibility work without the authority, right? Say, for instance, I can give an example about myself where I wanted to change how things were run at a company that I was at, but because I was not in the management role at that company, all my suggestions were like batted down by the guy who was there because he wanted to just kind of, you know, he wanted he wanted to be the face of the team instead of like a collaborative environment. That's what it was, right? So what makes this stage dangerous, before I pass it to Brian, as he talks about the next level, you want to make sure that you avoid the cynicism, right? You want to make sure you avoid becoming disengaged, the quiet resentment, right? Losing confidence. You don't want to mistake comfort for stability either, right? And the last thing, I think the most important thing, is that you don't want to start believing that growth is not possible in payroll. You may just need to get out and apply yourself somewhere else. You're on mute.
Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Yeah, and also I love it, man. This is really good info. Let's talk about the next stage, the waiting period. What does that sound like, right? That sounds frustrating.
I just did that one.
Oh, you just did that one? Oh,
Yep.
1, 2.
So you're number 4. I did number 1 and 3. Did number 2.
Oh,
so
okay.
number 4.
My bad. Delete this section. Edits. 4. All right, stage 4, the next level. One of my favorite hip hop songs is called that. That's the name. The next level. What this stage really is, this is where the payroll pros move from being a strong operator to being a leader, a strategist builder, or a recognized expert. And it is an option because not everybody's a leader. Not everybody wants to be a leader, right? Not everybody wants to be a manager. You want to be, maybe you just want to be a single contributor, right? And it's okay. And payroll, you can do that. You can be you can have a whole career in payroll and not have to manage people and just be kind of a single contributor. So this is the stage where you really figure it out, because now you're like leaning in. You are hitting that groove of expertise, and you should know what you're good at and how you want to move to the next level. So some of the things in this level is, it's not just about title. I remember when I had a boss that we were negotiating a new hire or myself, a new position for me. And, we settled on the dollar amount or whatnot. And I was like, look, you can call me whichever you want, but I'm pricing you at this level, And I really didn't care about the title. It was about the compensation, and it was about the impact I was going to have, right? I think payroll folks always want to help, right? You always want to solve problems. Good payroll people, they like to help. They like to solve problems. I think that's really key. So and gosh, we talk about the title so much. Like, it's not a standardized list of titles in payroll. You could be a payroll manager and make more than a senior payroll director somewhere, a VP of payroll, and you could be a payroll manager and make more than them. And right now, to date, I've seen it go up to VP of payroll. There are conversations out there how we want to see chief payroll officers going forward in the future. If you own your own business, you can coin yourself the chief payroll officer. You wanted to say something more? I feel like you wanted to say something. No, you go. Okay. So, it usually requires a shift from doing the work well to building the environment where you can be, where the work can be done well by others, right? Wow. You become that payroll architect, a moniker that I think I'm gonna run with. Leadership in payroll means owning outcomes beyond processing. So, and this refers to not just being a leader of people, but a leader in that one role. And I forget who we were talking to in the show that was saying you can be a single contributor and still be a leader. You know what I mean? And not have people.
Yeah.
right? And not having people reporting to you, because having people reporting to you just makes you a manager. It doesn't make you a leader.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have followers to be a leader. And, be careful, because if you become a leader and you don't have any people that report to you, you could become a little threatening and dangerous to folks. People get threatened, like kind of, egos start becoming things, and, oh, whoa, this person's leading my people. I'm supposed to be leading them. Just be careful with that. Hopefully you're not in an organization like that, but it happens. At this stage also, people are expected to influence policy, technology, risk management, controls, staffing, and cross-functional alignment. See how we talked back in the other stage, you start getting exposed to the cross-functional and start thinking about the cross-functional. When you get to this stage, you could actually dictate how it should work and who should be involved, right? Because you should know who the players are, the stakeholders, right? Mapping those stakeholders to different departments and knowing, oh no, that department really doesn't have a stakeholder in this. They kind of roll up to this, and then, I don't. So, if you can exclude them, but again, you're deciding, you're creating that alignment, and technical skills really matter. Judgment, leadership, communication become even more important. You're senior at this level, right? You've been in the game for a while. So those are some of the things you got to think about. Let's see. What else? Anything you like at this level that we want to talk about, Walt?
Hey everybody, Tim Sackett, host of HR Famous, a new podcast on the Work Defined Network. Am I famous? No, I'm HR famous. My wife says I'm a micro celebrity, and 13 HR ladies around the world want their picture with me, which I think is funny. So, hey, what do we talk about on the pod? We talk about all the dumb stuff we do in HR in any given day, week, month, and we have fun with it, and we have some great guests. Come check us out. We're not famous. We're HR famous.
You already mentioned like leading teams,
if you want,
like you have to hone those skills, partnering with, like you mentioned, like you started, you would have started that at the mid level, like you said, but here you want to have perfected that skill set, right? As much as possible. Like you said, designing processes and stuff. And I think the part that we would like to speak to next is like what people may misunderstand about this level.
I was just looking at that I like, why don't you cover those? Go ahead.
So, like you said this, more money does not always mean less stress.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you said this to me, when companies give you or invest money into you like that, they're expecting a return on that investment. Right? So what are you going to do to improve things for the company? Are you going to keep us compliant? Are you going to mitigate any risks that we may be exposed to as a company? Right? Are you going to make sure that we're good? Are you going to fix anything that may be outstanding? Right? Leadership does not remove detail. It changes the type of detail, right? That you have to be responsible for. You may, delegate some of the things down and, as you build up your teams, but you have to make sure that you have maintained a deeper level of detail when it comes to certain things, right? Or higher level of detail. Being, the smartest technical person isn't enough. You know what I'm saying? Like you may know it all, but if you don't have the right team in place, knowing it all is not going to accomplish anything.
Nope.
Right? And I think this is the most important thing, that this level requires visibility, voice, and trust.
I like that.
Right? You need all those things, right? So you need to be open. You need to be, vocal about things. And at the end of the day, because of those things, your company hopefully is going to trust you, right? Like you may have somebody in place that only sees things their way, but it is what it is, man. So
you know what it is too? You made me think about something with the trust, and maybe they, if they don't understand payroll, it's hard to trust anything or anybody. And sometimes we take that personal, right? But we have to keep in mind, again, so it's a good conversation at this level, because you need to learn that. Does your leader, right? Because unless you own the business, you're still going to have a boss. And if not, even if you don't even if you do own your own business, do your clients understand payroll?
Yeah.
If they
They don't.
don't, you're going to have a challenge, right? Because now you have to kind of start and plan every conversation to be teaching as you go. And if they're not open to that, it becomes very tough. It's like an uphill battle and it's a challenge. So that's something you got to do, is kind of figure out your leaders or your clients. Do they have a good grasp of payroll? And if not, how do you help them bridge that gap? And are they open to it? And then like, how do you talk to them so that they understand? I've had to, read and use ChatGPT to help me. Wait, how do I bridge the gap? Because sometimes I have such a hard time talking to someone that doesn't know payroll and teaching them about payroll, in that. And you know what? Let me even be better. Someone that is pushing back on it, right? They're being kind of like,
I've even
tough.
I think I learned this from you, right? It's that I've even had to get even more granular, because human to human, like trying to communicate human to human sometimes is just difficult.
Yeah.
So it can make sense to us, but we have to make it make sense to them.
Exactly.
Right? So,
great point.
You're the one who's always said that, right? Make it make sense to them, right? And so that's to the point why you would use maybe an AI assistant, like say, hey, help me explain this to someone in layman's
doesn't understand.
That doesn't understand, so they can get a clear understanding of what I'm trying to say. Because you can say, oh, that's just your 401k, and they're like, well, what is 401?
Yes.
So,
that's right. It's exactly right.
Man. Look, man. So look, as we, what strong takeaway do you want to take away from this?
I think the biggest thing with this level is that it begins when you stop asking, how do I get payroll done? Right? Now you've crossed that, you've gone into, and you start asking, how do I build payroll to scale, protect business, and develop people? And then figure out which one it is that you want to do in there, because those are very different things. And they will dictate what career path you want to go down. And I think now it opens up another opportunity in the age of AI and payroll. Right?
That's a good point, man. That's a good point. Because
the payroll pilot.
Those are very three very different things: building it to scale, protecting the business, or developing people. What if you already have a good set of team members, processors? You're just struggling protecting the business, or any mixture of those different things.
Yes. Right? Figure it out, and again, which one do you like? Because if you're looking to grow and go somewhere else, then you can figure out, okay, I want to zero in on one of these things. So it's a great one. Let's close it up.
As we close it out and get into this fun segment for the last 5 minutes here, the payroll journey is not always fast, but can be meaningful, right? Each stage, even the waiting period, can have a lesson for you. And as long as you don't get stuck in believing that any individual stage that you're in, that you have to stay there, you'll be fine. So don't have that limiting belief about that. Like saying, oh, this is the only thing this is all I can do, especially if you're aspiring for more. If you just want to stay, hey, entry level, mid level, and you're fine with that, it pays the bills, and you're happy and you're okay, that's fine. Do you boo? Like they say. So just go from there. So we're gonna close it out with a fun segment called "I Should Have Known Better." It's a couple of different examples for us to read from and see if you identify with any of these. I think there's 10 of them. So I'll do the first first 5.
And mix it up. If you have something real from you, right, throw it in there.
Yeah. So I should have known better. Okay, the segment is called "I Should Have Known Better," payroll edition, right? So I should have known better than to trust a handwritten time card with no totals. Yeah, right. You should have pushed it back. Say, hey, there's no totals on this.
Doesn't
it's
work.
Not signed.
Yeah.
So just I understand you were trying to be nice.
No puede. Yeah.
So I should have known better than to trust the system. Right. We mentioned that earlier, right? So that's something that you just can't trust the system. I made that mistake and I got dinged for it early in my career. I got, it got written up because I assumed the system was correct, right? I should have known better than to start year-end cleanup in December.
Oof.
You want to get ahead of it as much
All
as
year
possible.
long.
If you have yes, and that way you have less to do in December.
Yep.
Just don't wait until the end of the year to let's just fix everything from the beginning of the year. Right?
No. Yeah.
I should have known better than to assume that a earning or deduction code was set up properly. And the last one before I pass it to my brother here, I should have known better than to assume that the C-suite understood what I was talking about in terms of payroll.
Yep. There you go. Let's see. I should have known better there. I should have known better than to believe someone who said, this term can wait until next payroll. Never. I got a good one for you. I should have known better than to trust a manager saying, yes, I approve payroll without looking at payroll. Right? No, it's okay. Just go ahead, Brian. I looked at it. Nah, you need to see.
My payroll never changes.
Yeah, it never changes. It's great. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I should have known better than to hear the tax issue is probably minor. Oh gosh, no. I had a controller tell me 1 penny one way could be $1 million the other way. Now, if you're in accounting, you get that. And it took me a long time to get it too, but you should have known better, right? I should have known better than to make the system change right before payroll close. No, my gosh, no.
Oh my God. How many times have we experienced that, bro? With somebody like from on the admin side just went in and did something and didn't tell us.
Yep.
And it's just, bro.
It's crazy. I should have known better than to believe the phrase, this won't affect payroll. No, oh my gosh, the phrase, it almost guarantees that it will affect payroll. And the last one is, I should have known better than to skip documenting the exception. Oh my gosh, yeah. What? I make people crazy with the whole documentation. So anyways, folks, let me end it off here. No matter where you are in this payroll journey, keep growing, keep learning, and keep remembering that the profession matters. If you ever said it'll probably be fine right before the payroll issue exploded, well, welcome to I should have known better. And that's dope. And again, I love that, some things I want to mention about the whole segment is every stage has value. Every stage teaches something different. Every stage teaches some different discipline or judgment or self-awareness, strategy, and leadership and legacy. Right. And go out there. There's a ton of books. I'm going to get them back up here on my wall soon. There's a ton of great payroll books out there right now. Nick Day, Max Vanderglees Bluesing, Bart Vanderstorm, Anita Latink, Haley Patterson, yours truly, and my partner here, Walt. We rewrote a book. Check that out. But that's more for non-payroll people. So if you got somebody that is looking for a new career, that's what you want to share with them is ours. And I'm probably missing somebody. I hope I don't miss them. Don't beat me up. Oh, Tammy and John is dropping payroll like a boss.
Payroll like a boss. Yeah.
Like a boss. I mean, that name is great. It's growing on me. And
you said Patterson?
Haley Patterson. Yep. Haley Patterson's book. And actually, we need to drill into it because it's really from a consultant, perspective and the value of payroll, right? And it's so yeah, I'm really excited about this year and as we develop and look out for the things that are coming, folks. Welcome to Payroll Universe. We love you. Till the next time. Tell a friend, subscribe, share, all the things, folks. Peace.
Peace.
Nice.